Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and former President Donald Trump has brought some uncomfortable truths to the surface. Jasmine Crockett used the phrase "monkey in power" during a speech where she was talking about the dysfunction in American leadership. The phrase was meant as a metaphor to express her frustration with the state of politics and leadership in America, but Trump quickly seized on it and turned it into a scandal. He accused Crockett of making a racist comment and demanded that she be removed from Congress. This sparked a firestorm of media attention and debate, with many people questioning whether Crockett's words were out of line or simply a bold way of calling out corruption and bad leadership. Trump, never one to shy away from controversy, jumped on the opportunity to attack Crockett. He took to his Truth Social platform and called her language disrespectful, claiming it was an insult to the presidency. He accused her of being divisive and trying to stir up racial tensions. In typical Trump fashion, he did not hold back, labeling Crockett as a disgrace to Congress and calling for her to be stripped of her seat. The former president's comments drew strong reactions from both sides of the political spectrum. His supporters agreed with his criticism of Crockett, while her supporters defended her, arguing that her comment was not meant to be racist but was aimed at the failure of leadership in America. Crockett, however, was not intimidated. She quickly responded to Trump's attacks, refusing to back down from what she had said. Crockett has always been a strong voice in politics, and this time was no different. She fired back at Trump, pointing out that he had made far worse comments in the past, including calling certain countries holes and failing to condemn white supremacy. She argued that Trump had no right to criticize her for using a metaphor when his own words were often much more hurtful and divisive. Crockett's response resonated with many people, especially those who have long been critical of Trump's rhetoric. She made it clear that her comment was not about race, but about the abuse of power and the chaotic nature of leadership under Trump. But just as the battle between Trump and Crockett seemed to heat up, an unexpected defender stepped in: Joe Rogan. Rogan, the popular podcast host known for his blunt and often controversial opinions, decided to weigh in on the controversy. On his podcast, Rogan came to Crockett's defense, arguing that her words had been taken out of context and that the real issue wasn't the metaphor but the unwillingness of some people to engage in honest political discussion. Rogan pointed out that Crockett's comment was a critique of power, not a racial attack. He argued that if people were going to get upset over every strong statement, it would become impossible to have real conversations about the issues that matter. Rogan's defense of Crockett surprised many people, and his comments quickly went viral, sparking even more debate. Rogan's intervention added a new layer to the conversation. It wasn't just about whether Crockett had said something wrong, it was about the bigger issue of how we handle political speech in America today. Rogan's point was that strong language, even if it's controversial, is a necessary part of honest political debate. He argued that if we only focus on the words people use, we risk ignoring the deeper issues they are trying to address. This idea resonated with many, particularly those who felt that political correctness was getting in the way of real discussions about the problems facing the country. Rogan's defense of Crockett became a rallying point for those who believed in free speech and the right to criticize leaders without fear of being silenced. However, not everyone agreed with Rogan's take. Trump supporters were quick to criticize him, accusing him of supporting racist rhetoric and betraying his usual stance of standing up against political correctness. Some argued that Rogan was simply trying to gain favor with the left by defending Crockett, while others believed he was endorsing harmful language. But despite the backlash, Rogan stuck to his position. In a follow-up podcast episode, he reiterated that political discourse should allow for bold, sometimes uncomfortable, language. He argued that if we stifle political speech just because it might offend someone, we're not really engaging in honest dialogue. The situation sparked a larger debate about the role of language in politics. On one hand, some people believe that words matter a great deal, especially when it comes to race and power. They argue that language should be carefully considered and that people should be held accountable for what they say. On the other hand, there are those like Rogan and Crockett who believe that political speech should be free and open, even if it includes provocative language. They argue that when it comes to criticizing leaders and systems of power, people should not be afraid to speak plainly, even if their words make others uncomfortable. This conflict between Crockett, Trump, and Rogan is part of a larger struggle over how political speech is handled in America today. It highlights the deep divisions in the country and the way different groups approach issues of race, power, and free speech. For Trump, language is a weapon to control the narrative and push his political agenda. He has spent years using inflammatory rhetoric to rally his supporters and attack his enemies. For Crockett, Language is a tool for exposing the flaws in the political system, and she uses it to call out the corruption and dysfunction that she sees in Washington. And for Rogan, language is a means of fostering open dialogue and challenging political correctness, even when it makes people uncomfortable. At its core, this conflict is about more than just a single comment or a single confrontation. It's about the way that language shapes our understanding of power and how we navigate the complicated terrain of political discourse. It's about how we define what is acceptable and what is not, and whether we're willing to tolerate uncomfortable or provocative language if it leads to a deeper conversation about the issues that matter. In many ways, this is a reflection of the larger political climate in America, where everything is viewed through a partisan lens and where even the smallest statement can be blown out of proportion and turned into a major controversy. One of the most striking aspects of this situation is the way that Crockett's comment, which was intended to criticize the failure of leadership, became a flashpoint for a much larger debate. Her words were taken out of context by some, twisted into something far more controversial than they were meant to be, and while the political world focused on the metaphor, Crockett's larger point about the dysfunction and corruption in American politics was lost in the noise. The fact that Rogan was able to step in and defend Crockett's right to speak freely highlights the growing concern that political discourse is being stifled by fear of offending others. It's a reminder that, no matter how strong or uncomfortable the language may be, the ability to speak out against power is one of the most important rights we have as citizens. The controversy also highlighted the ongoing battle over what constitutes acceptable political language in America today. For some, the issue is one of free speech. Should we allow people to speak their minds, even if it means using language that might offend others? For others, the issue is about the harm that can be caused by certain types of language, particularly when it comes to race and identity. The debate is complicated by the fact that language is inherently subjective, and what one person finds offensive, another may see as a legitimate critique of the system. The question, then, becomes not whether Crockett's words were racist or offensive, but whether we should allow language to be policed in a way that stifles meaningful political discourse. This conflict between Trump, Crockett, and Rogan reveals the deep divisions in American politics and the way in which language has become a powerful tool in shaping public opinion. For Trump, words are a means of control, a way to rally his base and attack his opponents. For Crockett, words are a way to challenge the status quo and call out the failures of leadership. And for Rogan, words are a means of fostering honest, open conversations, even if they make people uncomfortable. In many ways, this controversy is less about the specific words spoken and more about how we navigate the complex terrain of political speech in an age of polarization and outrage. As the controversy continues to unfold, it's clear that this is not just a fight between Crockett and Trump, it's a battle for the future of political discourse in America. Will we continue to allow the language of politics to be dictated by outrage and political correctness? Or will we create space for more honest, open discussions, even if they make us uncomfortable? This moment has shown that language can be both a weapon and a tool, capable of shaping public opinion and sparking important debates. It also serves as a reminder that, in the end, it's not just about the words we say, it's about the power of those words to change the conversation and challenge the status quo. If you found this video insightful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on more important political discussions. Your support helps us keep these conversations going.